Welcome everybody to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host for the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. Oh yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I'm really excited and a little nervous to interview Susan Bratton. She offers advice and tips and a judgment-free zone that allows people of all ages, interests, and experience levels to feel at ease, improving their intimacy. Authoring over 30 books on the topic. Please let's welcome Susan Bratton. Bratton, am I saying that correct?
Bratton, yes.
Bratton,
Susan
there
Bratton.
we go. Susan, thanks so much. Yes, I was telling you off camera, I'm a little shy about this because I am the 42-year-old virgin here, but I'm really happy to talk about it. Let's just say that my idol growing up was Madonna. So there isn't anything I haven't heard or seen or even done when I was a female back in the day. I had a lot of fun as a woman, but welcome to my show.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really want to help people find the intimacy, the passion, the connection that I think is our human right and one of the most beautiful parts of being alive. I mean, if you have your health and you have friends and maybe you're even lucky enough to have a wonderful family, and you eat well and have good food and dance and sing and enjoy the arts and make love. These are some of the most wonderful things that there are on earth, and be in nature. And sex is in that big, luscious category of what fuels and nurtures us.
Right.
And yet, for so many people, it's distant. It's a challenge for them. And I was talking to a guy in, I think he was in perhaps Egypt or maybe Pakistan. And he said, I'm a poor man and there are no women here who will want me. I need to find a wife from another place because in my culture, I can't pay for a dowry. And I said, I don't think that is true. I think that there are wonderful women all around you who want a loving man and perhaps don't need as big a dowry as you think, or even any. And they would rather just have a loving companion to take care of them and be part of their lives. And he just argued with me about this limiting belief he had that there was no woman in his country that would want him.
Wow.
And I'm still going back and forth with him, like he's arguing with me and he's going to argue his point with me. And I'm going to argue that there are so many people. We're surrounded. You know how they say that when a fish is in water, they don't know they can't see the water.
Yeah, totally.
We are surrounded by people who want our love and want our attention and want our affection. And it's the fear that holds us back, whether that's the fear that we're unlovable or the fear that we're not enough, the fear that we're unworthy. These core fears, they make our ego create stories
that are they're not even true. They're delusional.
They keep us from getting hurt.
Right.
And it was interesting, just before you rolled tape, and that's an old phrase. You asked me, somebody had given you the advice that now that you're a man, what a woman wants if she's going to be your lover is protection and security.
Sure.
And I want to answer that because and I want to go wherever you want to go. But the things I want to talk about with you today are, I want to talk about the difference between being estrogen dominant and testosterone dominant, the difference between the XX and XY chromosome.
Yeah.
Because you kind of straddle that world. And there are in sexuality, there's kind of nature and nurture. There's how we're born, the dominant hormone are we an XX or an XY? Do we have a penis or a vulva? Are we testosterone dominant or estrogen dominant? And that colors our nature. It makes us show up in the world differently. And then there's the second piece, which is what happens to us sexually in the world, whether it's abuse, trauma, shame, repression, ignorance. These are all the contributors to fear. And then there are things like body image issues that make us afraid. And all of them do come down to either a lack of knowledge and understanding or a core essential worthiness, lovability issue. And both of those things can pretty easily be overcome with the right mindset, tools, and perspectives. So I thought we could have a good conversation about it. And I wanted to start, does that sound good?
That sounds excellent.
And what I wanted to start with was the question you posed about, I was a woman for 34 years. Now I'm a man.
Yeah.
And what is it women want? Because I want to date women.
Yeah.
And it is true that generally, and here's the thing, we have the complete range of masculine and feminine inside all of us. We just express it at different set points in different degrees.
Yeah.
I happen to be a very feminine woman who is also extremely masculine. I'm kind of one of those, like, I cover the spectrum with pleasure. I can wear super slutty high heels and sexy lingerie and makeup and get my hair done and giggle like a little girl and surrender to my pleasure. And I can equally be the fierce woman who's, you know, doing ball slams in the gym and flexing my muscles and telling people to go to hell and, you know, like, you know, I can do, and I can dominate and I can be on top and I can run the game and I can be the CEO of 2 companies. I can do all those things. I can be the CEO of the company and then come home and make the chicken dinner. And the more, and the reason I say that is not in any way to brag about who I am, but I've had a lot of good fortune to be raised by a mother who taught me to believe in myself and made me feel lovable and worthy. And then 30 years ago, when I was 30 years old, because I'm 60 now, I married a man who is the wind beneath my wings and has empowered me and who can live with a strong woman. There are times when my strength really makes him crazy, but he manages with his beautiful grace to move through it. And not everyone has had those, the luck that I've had, the fortune I've had, of the support that I've had to live fully into who I can be. And so I tell you and your listeners that because you can do that for yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to come from outside you. It can come from within. And if I'm a model for what that looks like, I can help you live more fully into your feminine, your masculine, and how that balances confidently. So that was one of the pieces I wanted to just kind of lay out there.
Thank you.
And then to specifically answer the very first thing we were talking about, which is, I kind of know how to be a woman, but I'm still learning how to be a man.
Yes.
My friend told me women need security. And I think that is true for the following reason. Women are prey. We are preyed upon by the masculine. And we are estrogen dominant. So estrogen is the molecule, the hormone, the chemical signaling molecule of safety. We have to, one of the reasons women are so good at multitasking is that we have to keep our eye on everything because we are preyed upon. And the masculine is very confident and very straightforward. The masculine is actually overconfident. They think they're always better than they really are, which is such a gift. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll totally take that. Being more confident than you should is not the worst thing in the world. And the masculine, the XY chromosome, penis owning, testosterone dominant human being is goal oriented, full speed ahead. Often when I teach men how to make love to a woman, what I explain to them is that although the very first thing that you want is for her to touch your penis, she does not want you to grab her genitals as the first thing.
Right.
Right. I mean, that totally makes sense to you.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
But guys, because they want you to touch their genitals right away, it's calming for them. Oh my goodness, my dick is getting touched. This is what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
They do that to the woman. So I have this technique I call the bullseye touch technique. And I describe, okay, imagine a bullseye. You've got the outside ring, you've got the middle ring, and you've got that creamy bullseye center that you're going for. But the problem is that if that bullseye is a woman, you got to start with the outer ring. You have to stroke her hair. You have to touch her full body, maybe rub her feet or her neck, look her in the eyes, hold her. Because what women need to get turned on is they need to be held, and you have to create feelings of safety and trust.
That makes sense.
That you're not going to do anything that she doesn't want to do. And you have to take your time with her, because the masculine, he has a couple of benefits. Number one, he's got more testosterone and a steady stream of it every day. Mm-hmm. She's on a 28-day cycle. She runs with the moon.
Right. So true.
And so there are times when she's more turned on. She's got a 5-day horny window around estrus. Yeah. And other times when she would have sex, but you kind of have to get her there. And then once you get her there, she's like, I'm so glad I had sex, but I didn't want it when we started. So that's why women require some seduction, which means moving them toward their pleasure, because they don't start out ready to go, ready to hit the center of the bullseye, already hard. Right. Guys have genitals that fill with blood really fast. I mean, that penis, it gets erect. Where women have the same amount of erectile tissue, because our sexuality runs on blood flow. We've got 5 liters of blood in our body, and it's not in our genitals until we start getting aroused. And for the masculine, those long, straight chambers in the penis, the blood flows in and locks off, and they have an erection. Where a woman, she's more like an English muffin, and she has, you've got to get the muffin out and cut it in half and get the toaster out and put it in. It pops up. It's not quite brown. You got to pop it in again, but then you have to push the button early because
then you have to butter it up, make sure it melts.
You don't want to burn the muffin. And then you put the butter's cold. Right. You put it on, you smash the two sides together, and then you wait for it to melt into all the nooks and crannies. That's the blood in a woman's genitals, because we have the same amount of erectile tissue, but it's wrapped around our vaginal opening. There's a clitoral structure, the urethral structure. It's dispersed. So we need more time to get turned on. We've been rushed for sex our whole lives by men who are already hornier and goal-oriented than we are.
Right.
And so is a woman looking for a man to provide to provide security and trust? I mean, I think yes. Yes, a woman is. She has to believe that you come with a loving heart, that you'll go at her pace, that you're not going to hurry her, that you're not going to do anything that will hurt her. These are very important things that you're not going to give her STIs, that you're not going to get her pregnant. I mean, these are the things that make women hold back. And so reassurance,
for sure.
Reassurance, communication is very, very important to the female. What a woman's looking for is she's looking for balance. She wants to know that you adore her and that you find her sexually irresistible. and she wants to hear the words. It's very important to talk to women. And men are generally, you've heard a man of few words.
Yeah.
Testosterone doesn't enable articulation.
Right.
Women are the ones that run circles around men verbally in the grand scheme of things.
Sure.
And also, Lino, remember that everything that I'm saying is really generalities, because we are all on a spectrum. We all have different life experience. Some of us are chatty Cathy males, and some of us are stoic women. Right. So this is not tried and true. These are like rules of thumb, but every person's different. But I think it's good to talk in generalities because it gives you a starting point for understanding the opposite sex and being less confused about why they act the way they act. So the very first thing is that when you are connecting with a woman, understanding that she's coming from these perspectives is super helpful in making that love connection with her.
I love this.
Yeah. So you don't have to be masculine. You have to be comforting, trustworthy, communicative, joyful, vulnerable, heart connected. You have to care about her. You have to care about her well-being and her happiness and her satisfaction. That's what she's looking for, not a He-Man. Although some women like, everybody likes their bears. Their bears are bears, and like people like them, I like a bear. Do. That's a thing. Bear's a nice thing, but you don't have to be a bear to be a man.
Or a vampire.
Also, another thing is that though women are often in their sexuality less directed, they have less of an idea what they want. They're more willing to go along with what you have a plan for, because the masculine offers that masculine sexual leadership. He provides the vision for the date. He has a game plan. He makes her offers. Would you like to have a glass of Chardonnay? Would you like to snuggle on the couch? Would you like to go in the hot tub? Would you like me to brush your hair? Would you like me to rub your feet? Would you like to have a makeout? Can I give you a breast massage? Whatever those things are, you have to understand by using by using vigilance, looking at where she is on the arousal ladder. Is she like, it's your first time, you're still getting to know each other? Have you had a few dates? Are you starting to ramp it up? Can you make slightly bigger offers? The small offers are foot rubs, Chardonnays, hot tubs. The bigger offers are makeouts, breast massages, that kind of thing. So what you want to do is see where she is and what she might be open to, and offer her a few menu items. That's masculine sexual leadership, using the vision of what's possible with your vigilance about where she is in her arousal and her connection to you, to give her options that she can say yes to. Because the more you give a woman opportunities to say yes, the more yeses you'll get, and the more you can escalate into things that will turn her on more and more and more. So you can have this real hot, great, sexy lovemaking rooted in trust, because you're not making her these, do you want to have sex? Can I stick my penis in your vagina?
Yeah.
Like, no, I am still not ready for that. Right.
Yeah. And I'm turned off now, because most of the time something like that would turn someone off.
Exactly. But men regularly do that because that's the offer they'd like to get, because they're ready to go, because they're way ahead.
What are your most common complaints, Susan? What do you mostly get? I need advice on this. What's the most common I need advice question?
Well, I would say number one is my wife doesn't want to have sex with me anymore. And that's partially because he's constantly just asked for sex instead of understanding how to seduce her and how to give her, how to work her up the arousal ladder. And he hasn't done enough foreplay, and he hasn't made sex fun, and it's been repetitive, and she hasn't had an orgasm from intercourse, and he has, and she gets sick of it. That's one. Another one that I get a lot is how do I please a man? What do I do to please a man? I want to do a great job for him. He's always focused on giving me pleasure, but I'd like to turn the tables and give him pleasure. And that's when I'm like, we'll touch his dick.
Yeah, right. Easy enough. That's all you have to do.
That's super simple, honey.
Yeah.
Touch his dick, touch his dick, touch his dick. But not really. I'm making light of it.
But you know what? In hindsight, that's true. And if you were to say something like that to a woman that asked you that, how would they respond to that? I've already tried that. It's not working.
Well, for the most part, these are women who already have a pretty good sex life and they just want to begin reciprocating and they want to move into being a little more switchy, not just being on the receiving end, not just lying there, but being an active participant. And so it's funny. I'm just writing an article. I write a monthly column, a sex advice column for Gentleman's Way magazine. That is distributed in doctors' offices, and it's for the Gainswave company, because I teach a lot of guys how to reverse erectile dysfunction and a lot of women how to reverse vaginal atrophy, and people how to fix loss of sensation with age. So
Wow.
what I really cover are
That's a lot of mind work.
It's
mind to body. Yeah.
You can't have good sex if I have three legs to the stool of what I'm really good at. One is sex techniques, how to transform having sex into making love, passionate lovemaking techniques, feel good orgasm skills. And then the second, like bedroom communication skills, how to feel comfortable and confident talking about what you need when what you need is different every day. Yeah. And you always have to be in tune with your partner, and you each have to be in tune with your own bodies and what they're telling you they want in the moment. Right. So you can have a free flow of comfortable communication in every moment. Third leg of the stool is, if the parts aren't working, ain't no sex happening. So how do you fix the parts? I teach a lot of regenerative treatments and therapies, and Gainswave and FemiWave are what kind of turn back the clock and fix those atrophied and aging genitals that start to have issues. And so in Gentleman's Way, I'm just finishing up an article about being switchy, which is if you've been primarily receptive and feminine, how can you switch and be more on the I'm running the bedroom game? What does that look like as a woman? And as a man, how can you begin to allow yourself to receive and be present without being in your strategic mind, trying to, make her have an orgasm? Like, the biggest issue that men run into is that they're always strategizing, because they feel like they'll give up their pleasure for her pleasure. They are going to lose if you don't come. And then there's all this performance anxiety, because he's either worrying about something that happened in the past, or he's catastrophizing the future, which is where the fear sets in, where the performance anxiety sets in. So guys lose their erections, they get all bollocksed up, they can't come, they can't get to climax, because they're literally just not relating in the moment with their partner and playing off their partner. And good sex is the interplay of two lovers feeling each other. I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you feeling me. You're feeling me, right? I mean, once we're in this limbic connection where the world falls away, anxiety falls away too.
Right.
The minute anxiety creeps in,
yeah,
you are in your head instead of your body.
Right.
So what a woman would do, specifically to answer your question, to a man would be, she would let him know he's wanted. And that's important for women too, but men do that pretty well for women. But women don't necessarily, it's almost like they agree to sex, but they don't say, God, I want you. You look so handsome to me.
Yeah.
I love your body. You're so gorgeous. Yeah. And then worship his penis. Your penis looks so sexy to me. I love it flaccid. I love it hard.
Yeah, you won't hear that.
kind of hangs down like like a
Yeah.
horse's dick. I love how,
Yeah.
I love the way you have like a lot of skin that I can slide my hand up and down. It feels so nice. I love the
Yeah.
velvety texture. I love the color of your penis when you get really turned on. Oh, I love how you can see the 3 little chambers of your penis. It kind of is heavier on the bottom. That looks so pretty. I love how smooth the head is. Your balls are gorgeous. I love how you shave and manscape. It makes me so happy. I
Manscaped.
love the veins on your dick. It's so mouth-watering. You have a gorgeous cock and I love it in me. Like that is
Yeah.
so cathartic to a guy. It's the same thing with a woman. If you tell her how beautiful her vulva is, you have such a beautiful vulva. It's so gorgeous to me. I love how it starts out bright pink and then it just gets dark around the edges. I love how your inner labia, when you lay them open, they look like a little butterfly, like a blossoming butterfly. I love the slippery, shiny texture of the skin between the 2 labia. I love how your clit starts out hiding and then it starts to peek out and then you get a clitoral erection and it's like you have a little tiny dick in there.
Yeah,
I
totally.
love the sensitive, beautiful, soft plushness of your vagina, right? I mean, I love to see it come alive. I love to see how activated it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the more you can do those kinds of things, that is adoration and appreciation. And it's not dirty talk, but it's definitely sensual and sexy. And
Hmm.
it lowers everyone's fear because everyone has some genital shame. Everyone has that. And there's not a person who doesn't have genital. I mean, there's maybe 3 people who don't have genital shame. I
Hmm.
don't know who
Yeah.
they are. Everybody's worried, but boy, if you saw as many penises and vulvas as I do, because I just got my Instagram shut down and I think it got hacked and then something got posted and then they shut it down and I'm super sad, but it could be that so many people send me dick pics because I'm an expert in helping men with
Mm.
reversing ED and penis enlargement. And hey, what's this thing on my dick and who should I talk to? And I don't know, like they'll talk to me and they won't talk to their doctor. And
Right.
sometimes I'm
Because they
like, you
feel
got to
safe
go to
with
the
you.
doctor,
Yeah.
but some men are just like, how does it look? I don't know. I only see porn and I don't think I measure up, And so I really understand that men are at least willing to ask me, how does it look? I don't get vulva pictures from women. I don't get pictures going, how does my vulva look?
Hmm.
They're not even there yet. They're not
Right.
even
That's true.
looking at their vulva or appreciating their vulva the way
Hmm.
men. And part of it is that it's a lot easier to look at a dick. But part of it is that men do seem to love their penis, generally are more proud and more connected to it than women. And I actually think that it's not necessarily that it's an outie versus an innie. I actually think it's that men masturbate so much more frequently than women
Oh, yeah.
because men have this kind of biological drive to keep their sperm topped off
Hmm.
because they have to be ready when she's ready because they can't tell when she's going to want to have sex
That's true.
because that's just impossible to track with women. And so that's why you have to keep making her small offers and ratcheting them up because she probably is willing to have sex all the time, but she's never ready or hardly ever ready to
Hmm.
do that. But because men are constantly masturbating and they're self-pleasuring, they're seeing their genitals more
Oh,
than
yeah.
women are. And so I think women are ahead in understanding that these are kind of like my trends that I notice. Women are generally ahead in understanding that they're multi-orgasmic, that they could learn how to have different kinds of orgasms because the human body, no matter if it's XX or XY, can have 20 kinds of orgasms.
Wow.
20. And the 20th one is called wild card because literally the
Well,
sky's the limit
like
on
the
what kind of
Uno
stuff
game,
people
huh?
come, right? But there's different locations you can touch, there's different orgasm techniques, and there's different tools and toys that can create and generate different experiences. And so between those, there's about 20 different ways the human body can achieve climax. And women are kind of like, oh, I can have a clitoral erection. I could have a vaginal erection. Oh, I could have a G-spot orgasm, like, oh, okay, I see there's different ways I get, where men are like, oh, well, I climax and ejaculate and that's my orgasm and I'm good.
Yeah.
They are missing out on becoming multi-orgasmic, having nipple-gasms,
Oh
having
yeah.
prostate, P-spot, blended, male multiple energy. I mean, there's so many kinds of orgasms that men can have too. And so I think it's just that we're evolving all the time and expanding our sexual potential.
Mm-hmm.
And now that there's sexologists and people like me out there, and there's workshops and there's classes and there's online programs and there's books and there's, Instagrams and there's videos
Yeah.
and YouTubes, and people are getting out from underneath the repression and the shame that's been holding us back and creating the fear and the performance anxiety and the body issues and the genital shame that has been the norm. But we're getting through it together as we raise the consciousness of how beautiful sexuality can be generally.
So you've seen, would you say that you've seen quite a shift with that, with the openness and sexuality within like the last, how many years have you seen there be
In
a
the
shift?
last 20 years since I've been, this is my second career. So in my mid 40s, I pivoted from being a Silicon Valley tech executive to starting a publishing company that published passionate lovemaking techniques. And I did that because I almost lost my relationship with my husband of over a decade because I wasn't having orgasms and he was from intercourse, and I didn't want to have intercourse with him much anymore. And he was super frustrated. And we're like, well, what are we going to do? We need to fix this. Let's learn how. And when we learned how, we're like, this is so easy. Why doesn't everyone just get taught this stuff? And that was like, that's it. I am creating a company and I'm just going to teach everyone how to make love.
That's interesting you bring that up because when my parents were splitting up, I had a conversation with my father and I was like, why are you leaving mom after 48 years? That's crazy, And he's like, well, she won't have sex with me anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he goes, well, that's the reason. I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what? And it happened. And I couldn't believe that was his response to me. It really actually hurt me because I couldn't believe it was something so simple, like something you can actually work through, but he didn't. And I wonder, had they gotten the therapy, had they gotten a sex coach, like would they still be together? I'm not sure, but I hear this story a lot where people have been married after so many years and sex is non-existent.
Yeah. And that's mostly that orgasm gap. Dr. Lori Mintz did a TED talk called The Orgasm Gap, which is the delta, the difference between how easy it is for a man to have an orgasm from intercourse and how difficult it is for a woman to do the same. And what happens is that I have a whole series on penetration, orgasms, and intercourse called Crossing the Gasm Chasm, how to close that orgasm gap. And what most people don't understand is that orgasms from intercourse are a learned skill and that all women can have them, all bodies can have them. And all that erectile tissue wrapped around the vagina just needs to be fully engorged, filled with blood. So she has an erection. She has to feel comfortable. He has to understand how to penetrate her. This is something that might be quite of interest to you, Lino.
Mm-hmm.
I recently did a series called Making Whoopee 3.0. And I don't know if you ever heard that term, making whoopee. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't. No. What does it mean?
It means bonking, having sex, intercourse, penetration. It's from an old game show. And when they would talk about sex in the 60s, they would talk about making whoopee. And that's what it meant. It was a euphemism for intercourse.
Got it.
And I have a collection of intercourse techniques that are for how a man can use his penis during intercourse to give a woman pleasure. Because when men watch porn, they mostly just see guys using their penis like a piston. just
Yeah.
in and out, in and out, in and out, bang, 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 bang.
Right.
And there's a time and a place for that particular
Sure.
move, but it's like one
Not
move.
all the time. Yeah.
And like one of my techniques is called the heart tongue technique, which is a mindset of thinking about using your penis like it's a tongue rather than a piston, and it sends the love from your heart out through that tongue, that you're actually licking her vagina with your penis and giving and coating the inside of her vagina with love with your penis. A woman can feel the love. A woman can feel your love when you blast it into her through your penis. She's like,
Right.
what are you doing to me? I am blasting you with my love from my heart, with my heart tongue.
I like that heart tongue.
It's just one example. Another one is glissando, which is the notion that instead of you thrusting into her, you can actually move her up and down on your penis. You can do it that way. It doesn't have to be you going in and out. It can be you moving her on you. I have so many techniques like that, but it changes the flavor of intercourse when, number one, she understands that it's a learned skill to have that orgasm and that you will be there to help her achieve it no matter what it takes. And it may take a few sessions of lovemaking, but you're going to go through all the possibilities of what's going to get her there, and you'll get her there. And that she's not broken and there's nothing wrong with her. She just hasn't gotten there yet. And that is super healing and nurturing, and it lowers that fear, and it increases her confidence and her belief in herself and that she's not broken. And a lot of times what happens in those long-term relationships is couples just literally, he doesn't know anything about how to give her pleasure, and he ends up just taking his pleasure. And why would she want to keep going? It's no good for her.
Right. That's so true.
Yeah.
What advice can you give people, let's say, that have been married for a long time? And I've often heard this as well. Well, let's say that I bring up the topic masturbation, because I've had people in the past talk to me about their sex life. I'd be like, well, do you masturbate? Well, I don't need to masturbate anymore. I'm married. I've heard that. And I'm like, what? To me, because that's all I do, so I'm like, that's me 5 times a week. I can't imagine not being married and all of a sudden do you give people advice to masturbate? Is that mostly a woman's response? Like, well, I don't need to. Most women don't masturbate once they're married, or,
masturbation is also a learned skill. And where it comes more naturally to men, because they have this biological wiring that drives them to masturbate, because they need to keep their sperm fresh so that they're ready, even if they're never going to impregnate anybody. It's still a core drive of the Homo sapien, where women don't have that so much. And so for women, it's much better when they have the space to learn how to masturbate. The 4 different kinds of sex toys that are great for women, I say that, and I got this from a girlfriend of mine, Sherry Winston, who wrote a fantastic book, one of the best books on women and sex that's ever been written, called A Woman's Anatomy of Arousal, that explains how our bodies work. Because if you don't understand your genital system, you don't know how your body works, it's a lot harder for you to have pleasure. And so I say to women, have the 4 different types of vibrators that there are. Have a vibrator. It can be rumbly, it can be buzzy. Have a essentially like a liquor, like the Fun Factory Volta is really good. Have an internal vibrator that goes inside you so that you're activating your vaginal muscles, and have an air stimulator, which is kind of like a clit sucker. You can even get one of those that has a G-spot stimulator at the same time. And so these are just such helpful things for women. And if they have like a 30-day masturbation challenge and every day they masturbate, then their vulvas are better, more activated, they're more engorged, they have better orgasms. And then I recommend incorporating toys into partnered sex as well. Not just toys are for solo pleasure, but toys are for partnered sex.
Hmm.
One of my husband's favorite, I think it's his favorite way of intercourse with me is me at the edge of the bed. He loves to hold my legs up, especially if I wear sexy high heels. He just loves that. I mean, for me, I could take it or leave it. I just like to be totally naked and I'm happy.
Hmm.
But he loves lingerie and frills and bows
Yeah, I love
and
that stuff too.
stuffy, all that kind of stuff and
Yeah.
sexy shoes. And so my job is to wear that for him because that's what he likes. And he loves it when I have a vibrator on my clitoris while he's penetrating me. He's playing with my nipples. He gets to look at me. I'm coming the whole time. He's having incredible pleasure. He knows I'm happy. He doesn't have to worry. He can relax and enjoy himself. And, that's a great experience for him. And I like it too. So, why do you think that using a toy during sex is a fail? It's a win.
It sure is.
It's a win for everybody.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Susan, what an incredible interview. I feel like I can keep going, keep talking, asking more questions. Actually, I do have another question.
Sure.
So I also feel, and this is also coming from somebody, me personally, I'd lost my urinary bladder from a genetic disease that I have. And since I lost my urinary bladder, I have more pelvic pain.
Uh-huh.
I have two organs. I have a vagina and I have a penis.
Yeah.
And I love being intersex. It's like the best of both worlds, to be honest with you. And I always feel like if men could, if they knew what they were missing, they would want the best of both worlds, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm coming here now to talk about pelvic pain, because when I open up the doors talking about pelvic pain with doctors open up to me and they tell me how many women are actually coming more often these days within the last 10, 15 years with pelvic pain, sex and pelvic pain. And I'm wondering if the techniques or even masturbating more for women would alleviate some of that pelvic pain.
Well, it really depends on what the pelvic pain is from. Is it nerve issues? Is it from a hysterectomy? Is it polycystic ovary syndrome?
True,
Is
very
it
true.
tight muscles and stress? There are vulvodynia. There are so many
Countless, yeah.
reasons for pain that I think it's very, very important to go to a pelvic pain specialist and identify the root problem, if it's a neuropathy, what have you. And then looking at what the modalities for releasing that pain, clearing it up, finding the root problem and handling it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the step I would take, would be looking for a pelvic healer in your area and going to them, because there are so many and they do incredible work. And there's so much complexity in there that you really need someone. Pelvic healers are very functional medicine oriented.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go over everything, and they're going to find the root cause of the pain and try to stop it from the root rather than covering it up.
Oh yeah.
And gynecologists are really not given enough education for the most part, unless they've done supplemental trainings,
Mm-hmm.
to handle pelvic pain. That's why I think that pelvic healers are really the way to go with that.
I like that. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been kind of a hot topic lately. I've been seeing in all around, even with like transgenders, like MTF, FTM. It seems like pelvic pain is pretty evident. Maybe it's always been there and people just really haven't been exploring it till now.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like our viewers to know?
Let me think about that. Oh yeah, there's something that I'd like to say, because one of the things that we were really talking about in a kind of at the macro view in this conversation together was that the large majority of us have a lot of sexual fear, insecurity, performance anxiety. Performance anxiety is a term that's kind of attached to the masculine when he can't get hard because he's nervous.
Mm-hmm.
But women have as much concern and performance anxiety. Am I going to be able to come? Is it going to feel good? Is he going to like my body? Does he love me? Does he care about, like everybody across the gender spectrum has fear and anxiety around their sexuality. So it's a human condition.
Mm-hmm.
And the solutions are getting to the core of what it is that are your issues. Was it trauma? How do you heal it? Was it abuse? Was it shame? Is it lack of knowledge and education? I can guarantee you a lot of it is for people because we don't get sex education. We get fear-based abstinence sex education, right? That's what we get. We don't really learn anything about making love, connecting hearts, how the parts work together. We get taught how not to make a baby and how to be afraid of an STI. Yeah. That's what we get taught.
Exactly.
Fear-based. One thing I would also say is that a lot of people have kind of pent up anger at their parents. Well, my parents never told me anything about sex. Well, first of all, your parents didn't learn anything about sex. Secondly, they were the blind leading the blind. You're lucky you got born.
Right.
And it really wasn't their job, frankly, to do that, because when you were of the age to really be able to learn it and apply it, you would just have rolled your eyes the whole time and you wouldn't want to hear it from them anyway. Totally. So forgive them and forget that and take it on yourself, because your sex life is one of the most beautiful things in your life and can be one of the most fulfilling, nurturing, enriching, soul satisfying, orgasmically pleasurable experiences of life. But nobody knows how to really do it. They are learned skills that come with practice. And when you practice, you will screw up, and the screw ups are what you laugh about later. So the perfection is in the imperfection. It's like wabi sabi. My girlfriend Ariel Ford wrote a book called Wabi Sabi Love. Wabi sabi is the beauty in the vessel that's cracked. The crack, when it's repaired, is the most beautiful part of it. And what doesn't kill you will make you stronger is another way of putting that. The Japanese say it more nicely. Often it's the mishaps that grow you closer with your partner. And it is our job to learn about our sexuality and to create and co-create experiences for growth, and to keep trying new things and learning new things and enriching ourselves and our partners. And when you get into that mindset, instead of in the victimization, my parents didn't teach me, I don't know, I was shamed, I was traumatized, fix the trauma through primarily somatic therapies, which are hands-on body-based therapies. They're much more efficient for sexual trauma than simply talk therapy. The somatic experience technique by Peter Levine, the Peter Levine method, is one that I really recommend. And there are practitioners all over the world that do that. Very good one for that. Can heal your sexuality. And then you can go on to find that learning things together with a partner, beginning as beginners together, helps keep your sex life exciting, on the upward pleasure spiral, creating new trysts with each other and life and your sexuality. And it can be an incredibly fulfilling journey that lasts your whole life long, because you're not only born a sexual being, you die a sexual being, and you can have sex until the day you die. And some of the best sex doesn't happen until you're in your 60s and 70s and 80s, because you've had a life of experimentation. You're more comfortable. You're less worried about what your body looks like, because you know it ain't gonna get any better. So you might as well live your life and enjoy yourself. So no matter what you look like, it doesn't matter, because it's all about the love in your heart, the joy you create, the connection you have. And so if you feel like you're distanced from your intimacy, the best way to start closing that distance gap and finding your lovers is to love. When you feel unloved, the way to feel love is to love. Just start loving everybody. Just allow your heart muscle to work. And you will start attracting people who want the love you have to give. And then you'll find that you desire each other. And when people are like, well, how am I going to find people to love? Do philanthropy. Go out and do art things, music things, dance things, activism. Get out in the world. Put on your N95. COVID's still out there.
Yeah.
And get out in the world and start working that heart. And it will be like a magnet that draws those who want love and can feel loved and be loved to you.
Well, I definitely feel your love, and my heart muscle is working. It's working
Yay!
really hard. Susan, this has been a really joyful, incredible path talking to you about this. Thanks so much for being part of our journey. This is amazing. It was very much needed. How can our listeners, our viewers, and our watchers find you?
Well, I'd like to send you to my Instagram account. I hope it gets reinstated. But really the best place to find me is at my main website. It's called personallifemedia.com. Personal Life Media. And the great thing about it is that it has a big search box at the top, and anything that you could think about I've probably written articles on it that will lead you to videos that I've done that are free, that'll lead you to techniques that I give away. I mean, there's so much free stuff, great sex techniques, communication techniques, rejuvenation techniques, you name it, at Personal Life Media. And if you forget that, you can always type in susanbratton.com and you can get on my mailing list from there. I have a sex tips email newsletter. I was just writing about how to be switchy for this Sunday's Digest. So I'm always coming out with new stuff.
Susan Bratton, everybody on A Little Less Fear podcast. Thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your energy, your joy, and your love, and all of your knowledge. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.